Coming up on this Halloween episode of Hashtag That, bingo, music, and more. We take a look at all the different events that happened on campus this weekend.
It's Halloween time, which means Cullen and I are back to fill you in on some new spooky scenes from the entertainment world. From Hamden to Hollywood, we are your source for entertainment news. From Hamden to Hollywood, we are your source for entertainment news. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Hashtag That.
I'm Cullen Ronan, and to my side is the always lovely Paige Meyer.
But tonight, consider us Wilma and Fred. So Fred, I guess it's time to get started.
Indeed, you are correct. Getting started, Montage, Quinnipiac's literary and arts magazine, teamed up with the campus radio station, WQAQ 98.1 FM, to host an open mic in the Student Center. Bobcats from all walks of Quinnipiac life turned into SC119 and had the ability to share their visual or written art, songs or lyrics, or even try their hand at some stand-up comedy. For those in attendance, they were blessed with catering from Panera Bread to make a night full of creative and artistic fun even more enjoyable. If seeing performances live and up close wasn't incentive enough to stop by, the host gave out a number of prizes, including tickets to Saturday's Waves concert at College Street Music Hall. And with prizes like that, you'd be wise to stop in next time an open mic rolls around. I mean, while we're on the topic of sweet prizes, it'd be silly not to bring up the biggest, bestest bingo ever event held by Quinnipiac's Student Programming Board on Friday night. Students played 10 rounds of bingo to win a number of tech prizes, including a flat-screen TV, Apple Watch, and Bluetooth headphones. But it did not stop there. On top of that, there are a number of raffle baskets students had the chance to win. I guess it's safe to say student organizations were feeling awfully generous this past weekend. And last but not least, Halloween was celebrated this weekend on campus, and the Student Programming Board held another great event to help students celebrate. What a better way to get into the holiday spirit than an Oktoberfest. Sunday afternoon on the Bobcat Way lawn, all things fall were in the air. Apple cider and donuts were given to students in attendance, and fall activities were set up such as pumpkin decorating. And of course, it wouldn't be a Bobcat event without some free t-shirts.
Connecticut moms are coming together and zombifying themselves for a special cause. A special music video is in the making to raise money for breast cancer.
So my name is Catherine Takizawa, and I am an assistant teaching professor in the biology department at Quinnipiac University. So we are raising money for the Cancer Couch Foundation, which is an organization started by a dear friend of mine when she was diagnosed with cancer. And what she realized was that most of the money that goes towards cancer initiatives doesn't go towards research on metastatic breast cancer, which is the type of cancer that kills you. So we are raising funds that specifically fund research on metastatic breast cancer. So they can view this video on, if you search Crowd Rise and Cheshire Mombies, it'll take you to our thriller video, as well as one that we did in January, and you can see our video and make a donation to the Cancer Couch Foundation.
Mombies are not the only organization holding thrilling events this month to raise money for breast cancer. You may have noticed Hamden looking pretty in pink lately, and we have the Paint Hamden Pink Committee to thank for that. October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Hamden has been coming together for the past 2 years to help make strides towards a cure. Bows were sold and placed all throughout Hamden, as well as events like walks, concerts, and restaurant deals were held to raise awareness. We sat down with Nancy Julian, the coordinator of Paint Hamden Pink, on how the initiative expanded this year. This past weekend, shops at Yale turned New Haven into Halloween Town. On October 27th, the Whitney Audubon Retail and Arts District held a free and fun, family-filled weekend. Face painting, glitter, tattoos, a DJ, and of course, some sweet treats, and even a costume contest were just some of the activities going on. Not only was this trick-or-treat street for kids, adults and university students were encouraged to attend in costume for the adult costume contest, which included monetary prizes.
When we come back, Matt Fortin is here to fill you in on the latest trending topics.
And Dan West is here to share with us some history of our favorite Halloween movies.
Stay with us.
Whether you're on the quad in your room or off campus, tune in to Q30 News for stories from student journalists you can trust. We're covering the latest here on campus and in the surrounding communities. Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Let's get it going. Sports Pulse starts right now.
We start tonight with some basketball coverage.
And here again, Aaron Robinson hits the shot of his life. I don't know what that celebration is, MJ, but I'm loving it.
Is that Fortnite?
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Two of our hashtag producers decided to bring this week's trending topics with a spooktacular twist.
Matt Fortin and Karina Kamey are in studio with this week's Halloween-themed trending topics.
Matt, Karina, let's hear it.
Hey guys, so I didn't get the memo about the whole costume thing, so we figured Karina would try to catch me up while I'm doing my segment live. So she's gonna do a little scary, spooky Halloween makeup while I'm doing your trending topics. So we'll see how it turns out. She only has like 1:30 to get this costume together. But anyways, speaking of costumes, a lot of Halloween stuff is trending on Twitter this week, as you can imagine, and as the big day approaches. Beyonce is causing a stir on Twitter, first and foremost, and Instagram with her latest costume. The Lemonade star taking to Instagram about an hour ago, sharing a recreation of a Toni Braxton album cover from the 1990s. She says in the caption, "Sending love and adoration to one of our talented legends. Your God-given talent is treasured." Just about everything Beyonce does becomes trending, so it's no surprise that hashtag Toni Braxton was trending on Twitter today. And Braxton herself responded via Instagram asking, "How do you look better than me on my album cover?" I personally think they both look pretty good. Okay, and this totally isn't having to do with Halloween, but I did have to bring it up. This is nonetheless a major conversation sparker on social media right now. Hashtag group FaceTime is at the top of the trending list as we speak. Twitter users are gearing up for today's Apple update, and that's set to include a feature for, you guessed it, group FaceTiming. This has been something iPhone users have been clamoring for years now, and it's finally happening. Many are now considering the implications. This one Vine appeared many times attached to the hashtag, showing what many think group FaceTiming will look like with their friends, aka total chaos. Others saying that it's taken so long for Apple to finally get group FaceTiming up and running that they don't even have any friends anymore. Meanwhile, others are more excited about the 70 new emojis set to be featured on the update. And if you want to try any of those features out, that update is available right now. Getting back to all the spookiness, hashtag deep thoughts from witches is trending right now. I'm not really sure how or why this started, or really what it means, but a lot of people are posting their wonderings, some witch related and some not. One Twitter user trying to remember if they left the cauldron on in this tweet. Another contemplating finally trading in that old broom for a more modern vacuum cleaner. And finally, my favorite, J.S. Williams, 1962, wondering if he should have used spell check. Get it? think that's pretty punny. And a pun is a plus in a tweet in my book. Anyways, that's all I have for this week's trending topics. How am I looking, you guys? Do I look good? How does this costume look? Karina, what do you think?
Certainly a different way to fill us in on
scary.
what was trending.
I'd say it looks good, Matt. A little scary, but I think Karina did a very good job with the time being.
Very true, Paige. While we're on the topic of scary, Hashtag's own Dan West sat down to explore the history of some Halloween classics. Check it out.
Boo! Scared you, didn't I? That can be scary sometimes. Speaking of, there's a tale that I want to tell you. Something sinister is coming your way. Imagine you're driving home alone at night. The road is dark, except for a few lights that dimly light the way. A chilly breeze blows through the trees. You can't see much other than your headlights just bouncing back at you. Then a man steps out in front of your car. You swerve, you hit the brakes, you almost hit him, you almost killed him. You get out of the car to check, you're face to face with him. It's a historian. Hello everyone, I'm Dan West, and I'm no historian, but it is a spooktacular time of the season. It's officially Halloween. And I wanted to spark some interest in the scary holiday by talking about some of the origins of some horror stories and some horror movies. Let's jump right in. Scary stories can be traced back to ancient times. Most information at the time came from passing stories down from person to person. People feared what they didn't know and would warn who they could. That fear later translated to literature. Gothic novels with darker tales surrounding monsters, mystery, and death emerged more and more. This is where we get characters like Frankenstein and vampires. Later on, writers focused on monsters that came from where we least expected, from outside and in. This is where we get Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and War of the Worlds. Then something else started to take over. Movies. Movies allowed horror to flourish. Something about being scared resonates with us all, and nothing is more terrifying than seeing something scary right in front of your eyes. George Méliès's The House of the Devil was the first horror movie in 1896, and for the first 20 years of the 20th century, most horror films came from France and Germany, with movies like The Hunchback and Nosferatu. In America, the 1930s and 40s was monster time, giving us movies like Dracula, The Mummy, Frankenstein, and The Wolfman. These were the foundation for what would be known as cheesy horror effects. Later in the 50s and 60s, technology had advanced, and Americans were concerned more with outside threats. This led the way to invasion movies such as Invasion of the Body Snatchers and the first The War of the Worlds. Then came the 70s, the rebirth of horror that is closest to what we know today. In 1964, the Motion Pictures Production Code was no more, and filmmakers were allowed to tinker with their wildest dreams. The gory A-list horror movies we know and love come from this time, like The Last House on the Left, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dawn of the Dead, The Exorcist, The Omen, Carrie, and of course, Halloween. The 80s were filled with slasher movies like Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street, but horror movies seemed to be fading. Until the 90s. The Silence of the Lambs received critical acclaim and sparked the production of bigger budget horror films. This is how we got Scream, Jurassic Park, Seven, The Blair Witch Project, and The Sixth Sense. And of course, the 2000s are bloodbath central. Besides an insane amount of remakes, horror upped its game with torturous gore in things like Saws 1 through 3D, 28 Days Later, Sweeney Todd, The Strangers, and Cloverfield. Finally, the 2010s are rampant with psychological thrillers. Sort of. Coming off an abundance of gore in the previous decades, horror had to scare us in a different way recently. We've become too used to the same tropes. This is where we get movies like Black Swan, The Gift, 10 Cloverfield Lane, A Quiet Place, and Get Out. Horror movies are created based on what scares us at the time. In the mid-1900s, it was external forces coming in to hurt us. Now we're scared of forces that come from within. Is your friend really your friend? Or a demon hunting boys? What really scares us is the unexpected. So this Halloween, if you don't want to be scared, expect the unexpected, and nothing will scare you. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, Dan. When we come back, Maggie Smith will be back with this week's Haunted Hollywood News Update.
Between news from Hilary Duff and Ariana Grande, we have a lot to fill you in on.
She will be taking us back in time, like our costumes, for a fun little game as well, so you're going to want to stick with us.
From Hamden to Hollywood, we are your source for entertainment news.
Whether you're on the quad in your room or off campus, tune in to Q30 News for stories from student journalists you can trust. We're covering the latest here on campus and in the surrounding communities. Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Let's get it going. Sports Pulse starts right now.
We start tonight with some basketball coverage.
And here again, Aaron Robinson hits the shot of his life. I don't know what that celebration is, MJ, but I'm loving it.
Is that Fortnite?
Welcome back.
From Halloween weekend hitting Hollywood to some more celebrity baby news.
Maggie Smith is back in the studio with a Hollywood News Update. Maggie?
Annual Casamigos Halloween party was this past Friday, and all of our favorite celebrities were there dressed in costume. Randy Gerber and his wife Cindy Crawford hosted the evening and were dressed up as David Bowie and Debbie Harry. Both were posed in a picture together with American rapper Diddy, who was dressed up as an airplane pilot. But all of the attention was drawn to Harry Styles in his Elton John ensemble. Some might even say that he won the night with his costume. A funny costume was worn by Nina Dobrev, who showed up as a literal star that was born, referring to the new film with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. After looking at all of the costumes from Friday's party, Cullen and Paige, which one is your favorite? And if you had been invited, what would you have worn?
I've said it once on this show, and I'll say it again. Harry Styles forever has my heart, and I was in love with him. I was in love with him as Elton John. Totally worked the costume, the rhinestone. I think it was a Dodgers jersey. Loved it.
See, I'm gonna go with Nina on this one because, of course, she was the star of The Vampire Diaries, a show that my mom was a huge fan of. And when you're like 12, if your mom's a fan of something, you kind of get stuck watching it. So, you know, we go back, like a little nostalgia with Nina. So I absolutely loved it. You know, she did the whole vampire thing for a while, so she kind of fits in the Halloween vibe anyway.
Yeah,
so I was all about that. I shipped her costume 100%.
Maggie, what about you?
Yeah, I loved Harry Styles, but more importantly, what would you guys have worn if you guys had been invited to this party?
I mean, I think we're looking pretty fresh right now. We might sport this at a Halloween party.
We cut it close, that's for sure. I got this costume about an hour before the show went on air, thanks to Amazon, but we won't get into that. But yeah, I think we killed it, honestly.
I know, maybe it might not be up to celebrity expertise these.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if we'd fit out on
a couple
Hollywood,
rhinestones like Harry, and maybe it'll work.
Yeah. Well, now moving away from Halloween in Hollywood, Hilary Duff gave birth to her daughter, Banks Violet Bear, on October 25th. Duff has one other child, her 6-year-old son, Luca Cruz, which she had with her ex-husband, Mike Comrie. She shared their very first picture together on her Instagram with her boyfriend, Matthew Coma, and captioned it, quote, Banks Violet Bear, end quote, with a heart emoji at the end. So Paige and Cullen, first off, what do you think of the baby's name Banks? And do you think that we'll be seeing a wedding for Hillary Duff and her boyfriend down the road?
Colin, what do you think?
This one's tough because I don't really keep up to date much on Hillary Duff news. So every time I get Hillary Duff news, I'm like, oh my God, she's still around. So, I mean, I'm happy for her, obviously, that, you know, she's having another kid. The name, they're worse baby names for celebrities. We've seen Penn and Teller. I forget which one of the two, but he named his daughter Moxie Crime Fighter.
Yeah,
so there are worse out there. So I'm gonna stick up for her on the baby name. It's just good to see her, you know, still around. Lizzie McGuire forever.
Exactly, Lizzie McGuire. I grew up watching that show. But Banks Violet, I think, is a very nice name. I love it. I don't know about you. You said you're kind of on board with it, but definitely could be worse. But I'm a big fan of Banks Violet. And as far as getting married to her boyfriend, it's Hollywood. You cannot predict Hollywood. I think we've come to that conclusion.
Yeah, you cannot count on any relationship. Cough, cough, Ariana Grande.
Yeah, that's so true.
Exactly.
So you never know.
Yeah, personally, I feel like Banks can be more of a last name, but I mean, like you guys said, celebrities picking names for their children is very unpredictable, and it does fit nicely with the middle name Violet, so I think it works. But lastly, on Monday, NBC aired, quote, a very wicked Halloween celebrating 15 years on Broadway, end quote. As part of the special, Ariana Grande got to fulfill a dream of hers and sing a rendition of The Wizard and I in front of several of the musical's biggest fans and supporters. Now, this performance was not just notable because of how well it went, but also because it was Grande's first time singing since her beloved friend Mac Miller passed away and since her breakup with her fiance, Pete Davidson. Many say she seemed, quote, happy and relieved to be back on stage, end quote. So what do you guys think, Paige and Cullen? And how do you think she's been handling all of the heartbreak in her life recently?
First off, I'm going to say that she looked absolutely stunning up there. She had a sense of confidence. I think it was almost something that she wanted to do to help her get over all of this heartbreak. What do you think, Cullen?
I mean, she looks stunning, as always, and there's no secret. She is one of the best live performers in pop music today. So it's really cool to see her, you know, step out of her comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously for all the heartache she's endured, I think that just proves how, you know, how strong and resilient she is coming back out there on one of the biggest stages you can possibly think of and still killing it.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it says a lot to her fans because she has fans of all ages that after heartbreak or after a sad time in her life, she can come back and continue doing what she loves. So I think it meant a lot to her, but I think it meant a lot to a bunch of people watching her as well. What do you think, Maggie?
Yeah, I think that she's been dealing with everything in her life very, very well. She's a great idol for all of her fans. But yeah, I definitely look up to her. I think that she's been handling everything very well. But
Maggie, I know you have a couple questions to throw us back in time. You got one or two for us?
Yeah. So since you guys are the Flintstones, let's take it back. So if you guys could travel back to any era, which one would you choose?
Ooh.
I don't know. I do know, actually. You go first, though.
Really? Okay, so I'm going to throw back all the way to the first time we hosted a Halloween show together. We went as greasers.
Yes.
So I've always been infatuated with the 1950s. So I would immediately go back there and wear the same outfit we wore on air that day.
I was going to say the 50s as well. Ever since I was young, I always said I want to have a 50s themed wedding or some kind of birthday party 50s themed. So that would definitely be where I would end up.
It was just so much easier to dress back then for guys. You just wore a white t-shirt every single day.
Exactly.
Boom, problem solved. Yeah, didn't even have to worry about it.
Skirt. Nice and easy.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, I'd have to pick the 20s, but I mean, I'm asking you guys the questions, so okay. If you guys could travel back and change any one thing about Quinnipiac, what would you change?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I do love QU. I guess if I could change anything, I would say maybe make a football team. I don't know.
Actually, I really like that idea.
Really? All
yeah,
right,
honestly, I was gonna say go back to the old logo, but you know, Paige kind of sparked some inspiration. Getting a football team around here would definitely be much appreciated.
Definitely. I think with the different like a lot of other big schools have a nice football team, and I think it brings the university together. I mean, we do have that great hockey team, so that helps us out. But you got another one for us, Matt?
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys could travel back in time to relive any one of your old Halloween costumes, which one would you choose?
I'm going to shout out to my brother. Hopefully he's watching. If he's being a good twin, he will. We used to actually, every year, we would pick a couple's costume, but I would be the boy and he would be the girl. So one time we were like 4, 5, 6, and 7, very young at this age. And I was the football player, he was the cheerleader. I was the Beast, he was Belle, and so on. So those were definitely my primetime costumes, of course, besides the ones that we rock on this.
I just distinctly remember me and my sister both entered a costume contest. I didn't even place, my sister won.
Oh,
so,
awkward.
Yeah, I guess my sibling costumes never turned out quite as well, but I did go as a pretty baller pirate when I was in like 5th grade.
All right.
And the picture hangs in my living room, and I'm pretty proud of it.
There you go.
But coming up after the break, we tag along with Emma Carmen as she took a trip to see the now World Series champion Boston Red Sox as they took on the Los Angeles Dodgers at Fenway Park.
Don't touch that dial, stay tuned.
Hey there! These my children!
Let's get it going. Sports Ball starts right now.
We start tonight with some basketball coverage.
And here again, Aaron Robinson hits the shot of his life. I don't know what that celebration is, MJ, but I'm loving it.
Is that Fortnite?
From Hamden to Hollywood, we are your source for entertainment news.
Welcome back.
Emma Carmen, my girl, had her front camera ready at one of the largest sporting events of the year to bless us here at #that with the newest edition of Snapchat That.
Check it out.
Welcome back, Keith Folk. Welcome back, the Electric and Great Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Well, Emma, I'm glad your dreams came true and you got to attend a World Series game. But sadly enough, Cullen, as seniors, this is our last time hosting the Halloween-themed episode of #that.
So sad, but it's been a wonderful, wonderful 3 years, might I say. I wouldn't have wanted to host a holiday episode with anyone else, so.
Between the games, I know we've done a candy eating contest last year,
Oh,
which
yes,
I think I beat
forgot
you
about
on.
you definitely did.
I would like to say. But I do think we improved so much, honestly, from the 50s, like we said before. Last year, we were Barbie and Ken. This year, Wilma and Fred. And I know for Holiday Hottie, we were Santa and Elf, and Cullen had to wear tights. That was one of my favorite moments.
I still catch a lot of flack for those tights, but you'll be tripping if you think I still don't have them in my closet. You never know when you can pull out a pair of tights for Christmas. And
Exactly.
After
memory's
this,
a memory.
Yeah, after this, our hiatus won't be very long because we're coming back for Holiday Hottie too.
Exactly.
So catch us hosting that as well. Well, that's all the time we have for you this week, but make sure to follow us on Twitter at Q30 Entertain and subscribe to the Q30 YouTube channel.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Good night, Quinnipiac, and we hope you have a happy and safe Halloween.